thank you for your remarks. Actually, I just have one comment on it. If Supreme Leader of Iran will hear your remarks here, he uses it as another proof that there is a connection between Baha'is, Bahrain, and Israel.
Which, just to add on my colleague, which everyone should be proud of, because it would be and it is a sign to be on the right side of history. And Madam Ambassador, thank you very much for your remarks. Just very briefly, you mentioned the success story of Bahrain, which it truly is. It became independent in a referendum. This is a fact that everyone should accept it and not question it and not doubt it, so that the sovereignty of Bahrain can continue to exist, and its security is guaranteed. Of course, I can't relativize human rights abuses that happen in your country as well. But I wish, just as I wish that Europe would take much more seriously the security concerns of your country, it would take seriously the security concerns of other nations as well, like the Baltic states, like other regional players in the Middle East, other regional players in Eastern Europe. And just one very brief comment is really everyone is praising the nuclear deal, that it opened a new chapter, that it opened a new door. What we see in Syria today is a direct outcome of this nuclear deal. And what we see in Syria today, we have seen this movie before in eastern Ukraine. And at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, how are we going to confront and combat the influence and the meddling of the Iranian regime? And at the same time, we have to combat and prevent the influence and the meddling of Russia, because they are in a teacher-student relationship, and I can't answer who is the teacher and who is the student in this relationship. I can't do it anymore because it is so complicated, and this is something that we have to think about very seriously and deal with it very seriously.
Thank you very much for your very interesting remarks. A topic I've been busy last week, especially with Israeli specialists, and I can, in their view, Russia is trying to have some control on the Iranian agenda. So the mysteries between both are interesting. Colleagues, Mr. Gellico or Mr. Kellam, can I give you the floor? Mr. Kellam, please.
Thank you, dear colleague. I'm sorry I missed the bulk of your presentation, but I've been following events in Iran. And let me say, I am a skeptic about the possible changes in the essence of the regime. And I agree with Her Excellency, the Bahrain ambassador, that 2 weeks ago, the parliament concentrated on Bahrain because of some executions. And it was rather a pretext of dismissing Iran with its increasing wave of executions, because it is important for us to concentrate on the real problems, the most serious problems of human rights violations. And these are not only about executions, including executions of juveniles, but it is about suppressing national minorities, religious minorities, and speaking about the nuclear deal, which had such a lengthy way of coming to conclusions finally. I think the only litmus test for this credibility of this deal is, will will anything change in Iranian regime's respect for human rights? That's it. If not, then we have no reason, no foundation to take this deal seriously, because we see that the missile program has been left out of the deal. And the question remains, why is this missile program expanding, if not they are destined to carry nuclear warhead in the future? Then disqualification of thousands of candidates for the parliamentary elections. We can't seriously speak about parliament. It has not been elected, but selected by the supreme religious leaders. So these are the questions which remain, and I think tomorrow will be the opportunity to address these problems to the Iranian Foreign Minister. Thank you for your information and for your work.
Thank you, dear colleague, and especially for your sharp observation. I'm accustomed to it, and I must apologize. I have a conference tomorrow. I had to fly to Tehran, but I know when you are questioning Mr. Zarif that are the right questions. You have already given us some examples. Is there anybody of the panel that want to come back to the remarks of my dear colleague?
I can just write here what you all will hear tomorrow from Mr. Zarif, if you want. he will say that, okay, yes, we are improving our human rights situation, but which country has the best human rights situation? Please, you tell me, he will say. No, so of course there are some problems, but you know our judiciary is independent, so this is not the government, Rohani's government, which detain the opponents. And please don't forget that in Iran we don't jail the people because of their religious or their political views. We just jail the terrorists and the people who act against the national security, something like this. You will have listening this tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are already running out of time. Are there some pressing questions? You have pressing questions. Mr. Garib also or not? No? Then one, and then I go hastily to Mr. Schwarmenthal for closing remarks. Please.
I rather have some remarks, a question to Excellency MPs, and my question is, are you aware of situation right now in Iraq? The Iranian IRGC is creating a center in Kirkuk for recruitment Iraqis to send to Syria. Right now in Kirkuk there is a center from the Iranian government, and they're recruiting in Pakistan. They have an army named Zainabiyun, which are a member of Pakistani Shi'is, and also in Afghanistan, the Fatimiyun. So what's happening, the situation on the ground in Syria is going beyond the regional conflict, so it's expanding. We're all going to suffer from this, and that's the main worry. Tomorrow, Mr. Zarif is going to try to run away from the questions, but the main question remains Syria, Syria, Syria. More than 500,000 people have been dead in Syria. 2,000 people in Iran have been executed in the last 2 years, and we are still having a deal. We're hoping for a sweet deal with the Iranian government. Please bear in mind this problem when we talk to Mr. Zarif. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your quite clear intervention. Now I want to pass the floor to my dear friend, Mr. Schwarmenthal.
Thank you very much. I don't want to keep you here much longer after these very powerful statements. Just want to make one brief remark on the policy of engagement, which is, of course, a legitimate tool in the diplomacy toolkit that political leaders have. But there's a fine line between engagement and appeasement. And to ensure that this is true engagement, we need to answer a few questions, and we need to dispel a few myths. First of all, this is not a new policy of the European Union. We should not pretend that this is suddenly discovered. Engagement has been the default position of the EU for many, many years with Iran. There has been only a very short period of sanctions, and even during that sanctions, there were still diplomatic relationships, there was still economic relationship. So let's not, first of all, pretend that we are here embarking on something really, truly novel. It has been tried in the past, and we have heard how it utterly and bitterly failed under previous so-called moderate presidents such as Khatami. The second issue is that the entire basis for trying once again engagement is based on the assumption that this nuclear deal that has been just mentioned has opened a possibility here. The idea that the assumption is that Tehran has shown willingness to compromise in this field and may be therefore open to compromise in other areas. It would go far beyond the scope of this discussion and has been mentioned by you earlier. But this nuclear deal is unfortunately no sign of great compromise for Iran. Unfortunately, it falls way short of what Western negotiators started to embark on. So it does not dismantle the nuclear infrastructure of Iran as it was supposed to do. And therefore is a very sweet deal for Iran, and the regime's agreement to it is no indication at all of compromise. It just shows that they can see their benefits and the advantages when they are laid in front of them. And second, the third point is that engagement must be based on clear benchmarks of the sort of policy changes we want to see. And it needs to be evidence-based, not based on wishful thinking. And as has been said here before, the human rights record, the internal oppression, has only intensified under President Rohani, and during the negotiations, after the conclusions of the negotiations, and after the implementation of the deal. And simultaneously, as has been said here as well, the external oppression has as well intensified. We are witnessing right now something in the sad history of mankind, something still utterly remarkable. The devastation, the siege, the medieval-like siege of an entire city in Syria, starved to death, thanks to the carpet bombing of Russia. But let's not forget, who are the foot soldiers who are keeping the supplies from entering the cities? These are not just the Syrians, but the Iranian Revolutionary Guards and Hezbollah, which is a wholly owned entity of the Islamic regime. These are the conditions under which Mr. Zarif will be welcomed here tonight at a distinguished think tank, and will be welcomed here tomorrow in the Foreign Affairs Committee. I can only hope that members of this parliament will rise to the challenge and ask the very, very difficult questions and make it clear that Mr. Zarif, under these policies, is not welcome. Thank you very much.
Again, thank you very much for these strong statements, Mr. Schwammenthal. And as I said, the Foreign Affairs Committee is coming shortly with a new report on EU-Iran. I hope that the remarks and information of today will be in it, and otherwise we will again organize such a meeting as this. For this was a very fruitful exchange of views. And thank you warmly for your precious time, and all the best, and have a nice day. Thank you.
Good job.
Good job.
As you said, around the
for the casualties of the
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's just, it happens sometimes.
I've been there. Former manager, also member of the cash. In that mandate, they was
Merci beaucoup, Daniel, again. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you guys.
That's great. Thank you for organizing.
Yeah, no, for coming and this
And thanks for the help, I
Yeah.
just forget my English.
Yeah, no, I know how it is.
That's it.
Yeah, and we are very happy with the turnout for Monday afternoon.
Sure. I'll be with you.
He's here, a lot of
I
assistants.
just have to
Go
talk to
ahead.
Yossi just a minute. I'll be right back. Oh boy. Negotiated one. Oh my god.
And for the casualties of the, and thanks for your help.
Thanks for your sweet story.
I was born in Saudi. Saudi and Shahi. A lot of Baha'is over there. So, we have a few couple of